The study looked at first-time diagnoses of melanoma in patients between 18 and 39 years. Between 1970 and 2009, the number of cases increased eightfold in women, fourfold in men. Joining me is Dr. Greg Daniels, a medical oncologist at UC San Diego's clinical program in melanoma. Thank you, doctor, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So you'd think with so much information these days about sun exposure and sunscreen, we'd see the rate going down.
Right.
Why aren't we?
Great question. And we're seeing not just in the young people like you're highlighting, but across the board, and not respecting, Minnesota or the U.S. It's happening worldwide. We're seeing rates of melanoma go up. So it's a fundamental and important question.
You mentioned Minnesota because this study, of course, looked at people in Minnesota between the 1970 and 2009. Yeah. It seemed to implicate tanning beds in some way. So are tanning beds posing more of a risk than the sun?
Absolutely. In terms of tanning beds are what we know best not to do in terms of melanoma prevention, and that is intermittent high-intensity exposures. And so that's what a tanning bed is. It's just a big blast of UV radiation. So we know that that's strongly associated with increased incidence and death rates for melanoma.
So there's been a lot about tanning beds in the media lately. We know in California we now have a new law. People under 18 can't go to a tanning bed. Right. So you talk about this sudden burst of exposure. So if we had to take that and put it in the real world in terms of sun exposure, does that mean we shouldn't be out in the sun at certain times of the year?
So our general recommendations are that if it's, you can look at the UV index in the paper, for example. Absolutely during 10 and 2, those peak sun hours, you want to avoid, not necessarily avoid being outside, because that's a very healthy thing to do. But if you're going to be outside and you're going to put yourself at risk for this intense blast, then sun protective clothing and what we call sun-safe practices is what's recommended.
Now, I know KPBS has reported in the past, and I believe we've talked to you in the past that avoiding the sun altogether actually could put you at risk as well. It's not necessarily the right thing to do. Explain that.
So it's a complicated story, but I can tell you that for non-melanoma skin cancers, there's a direct link for chronic exposure. And that is, chronic just means you're getting daily sun exposure, intense sun exposure, maybe your occupation takes you outside. We know that basal cells, squamous cells, which happen in the head and neck area, directly linked to this chronic sun damage. If we look at the genes that cause those type of cancers, they have that telltale sign, UV was here. We can actually see that in the DNA. Melanoma defies that link. So chronic sun exposure tends not to be as bad as intermittent sun exposure. But how do you balance that? That's the big conundrum right now. And you're alluding a little bit to, before I mentioned there was a study, again in the Midwest, that looked at chronic sun exposure versus those people that had an occupation that put them more at intermittent. We could show that chronic sun exposure was well documented by skin changes. We can do biopsies and show that. And yet the rates of melanoma and the death rate from melanoma was lower in the chronic sun damaged skin participants versus those that got intermittent sun exposure and had less chronic sun damage. So, but what do we do with that? How do we advise patients? We go back again, we know that intermittent sun exposure and intensity is linked to it. How do we work chronic sun exposure into our lives? I don't know about you, but my day is indoors. And I'm lucky if I run to the parking lot to move my car to go someplace. So it's just not feasible. So our life pattern has changed. Is that related to the changes in the incidence of melanoma? Because as this study pointed out, wow, eightfold increase, young people, what the heck is that?
Right.
I can guarantee you they weren't all tanning bed related. So there's something more than tanning beds going on. There's a lifestyle change that's happening. Another thing to think about in this Olmsted study, if you get a health issue, Olmsted County is the place to be. Southern Minnesota has health care second to none. This is the Mayo Clinic. And it provides a a really special, unique opportunity to study what an early intervention program will give you. And early intervention, these patients have good access to high quality care where these young people, their melanomas were very thin. So what did it show? Okay, we have thin melanomas, but their death rates were lower.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a spot that's changing, point it out, because it could be a melanoma, and if you catch it thin, the chances are you're gonna survive the attack.
We're going to have to end it there. We're out of time, but I do want to direct people to our website, kpbs.org. We do link to this study, and we have a lot more information, including information about prevention, early detection, and also some tips as well. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being here.
Thank you.